Hello, everybody. My name is ACamp, and this is my applied project presentation. The title of my presentation is Effects of Using a Stimulus Prompt to Increase Daily Water Intake in a Working Adult. So for my introduction, we'll start off with the research question. So the research question I have is, will the use of a timer, specifically a wristwatch timer, during work hours aid in increasing daily water intake? Um, my rationale for the study overall was simply just kind of notating the participant, who we'll discuss here in just a second, that low levels of water can have underlying risks in health. So the rationale specifically is just that sufficient daily water intake is a behavior that can be crucial for overall health. So the participant for the study, pseudonym used as Peanut. They were a 26-year-old RBT located working in an intensive one-on-one ABA clinical setting. Prior to the treatment or the study as a whole, the participant consumed about less than 10 ounces of water per workday. So what is a workday? Let's define that real quick. So we just used the typical 8-hour workday, starting from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. In terms of the research, there's a couple articles that kind of piqued my interest that helped kind of support my reasoning for conducting the study. First one being by the author Poor and their colleagues. So these authors did a review of personal phones and applications within phones that are available specifically to aid in motivating physical activity. So while my study was not specifically on physical activity, the thought of using our personal technologies, cell phones, watches, things of that like, kind of piqued my interest. These are things that we carry on our person almost every second of every day, just about. Um, so this study kind of really piqued my interest in how they were looking for specific apps to help motivate physical activity, and I thought, well, why can't I do the same with increasing water? The next study that kind of helped aid in my rationale is a study done by Kant and Grabard. These authors specifically were looking to see if water intake or the lack thereof had any connection or correlation with mortality as a whole. They did make the point of notating that low levels of water consumption can lead to lasting health risks. So if we're not drinking our water, a myriad of health issues can arise later down the line. So that was my kind of reasoning on wanting to see, can I just help somebody out? Can we increase their water intake? Um, so in terms of method and design, I provided the participant with a 24-ounce water bottle with each individual ounce marked on the water bottle. So everything from 0 all the way down to 24 ounces. So that being said, my independent variable was a smartwatch timer. This smartwatch was something that the participant had already been using prior to my approach for this particular study. They wear it every day. It was something they've done independently. So I thought it was a good opportunity to use something of the like. So again, the independent variable here is a personal smartwatch and the timer that is on that watch itself. And then therefore, the dependent variable is the ounces of water consumed. So in terms of data, it's pretty simple. I just was calculating, how many ounces are they drinking? The goal was a full 24 ounces. Discuss here in just a moment that, they were consuming without this intervention less than 10 ounces. So I thought 24 ounces was pretty sufficient maximum. So in terms of the day to day, again, so they were we were doing the study within an 8-hour workday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. So to collect the data at the end of each day, whether it was the baseline or intervention phase, they would just return that bottle as is, whether they had consumed water, emptied it, kept it full, whatever it was. They would return that bottle to myself, the researcher, at the end of the day, and I would mark um, where they left off and how many ounces that they had consumed in that work day. So in terms of baseline, like I said, it was pretty simple. Participant would just go about their normal workday duties with the provided water bottle. So I did go ahead and give it to them, filled each day during baseline. The only thing was that, again, they just went about their normal day as if no study was being conducted. Yes, they wore their watch, but we ensured them not to use a timer in the way that we had intended for intervention. That being said, for intervention, the participant would carry around the provided water bottle while wearing their watch that they've already continued to wear independently. But the difference here is that we would have them set the timer to go off every hour for that 8 hour day. So the steps and process, so again, at the beginning of the workday, the participant would start their timer, retrieve their filled water bottle. They would go about normal day activities. They're conducting one-on-one therapy. So just going about their normal work day, but uh, having that water bottle that was provided and then setting the timer on their watch. They were allowed to drink water as desired. So if they did feel the need to drink water and the timer had not gone off, they were more than welcome to drink water. But at bare minimum during intervention, when the timer went off, they were required to take a drink. At the end of the day, they would again return that bottle as is to myself so that I could collect how much water was consumed in that day. In terms of results, so during the baseline observations, um, as mentioned earlier, it was pretty simple. They just went about their day to day and conducted their therapy and drank water um, as needed. Um, During our intervention phases, it was the first round of intervention where we did have some minor hiccups, so to say. So during the first day of intervention, it being a brand new thing for them, the participant forgot to set their timer until the third hour when it was prompted by myself. Um, then the next little hiccup was at the end of the first week of intervention, the fifth day, the participant was selected to leave work early. It was a low client day, so they were selected to leave early. So therefore, they only worked half a day, 4 out of 8 hours. So that, as you can see in the graph in the top right, a little dip in our graph in that first phase of intervention. Outside of that first week, that first round of intervention, there weren't really any other discrepancies or outliers that kind of occurred. Everything else went pretty smoothly. So per the results, as you can see in the graph in the top right, the study did show a pretty strong treatment fidelity between um, the use of the smartwatch timer and the consumption and increase of water intake, even with those environmental interferences from the first round of intervention. So for our discussion, so again, after analysis, as you can see in the graph there, the results did show, again, a strong treatment fidelity. So after implementation of the treatment, water consumption increased almost double that of baseline, which at first was pretty shocking and amazing to me. In a busy workday, it can be easy for any working person to have low levels of water consumption. However, as mentioned, this can have health risk in the long haul. Who's to say that this skill of drinking water, carried over after work hours? Maybe they weren't drinking as much, and if we continued this behavior down the line, as we get into older age, that can have a lot of health implications. And so, in wanting to increase and provide some help in that regard, what better way than to use what we already have on us? So almost all of us have a personal technological device or even two on us at all times. And most of these technologies have some form of timer or the ability to download one. So as per the data you can see here, it had a great impact to use these technologies in aiding to increase water consumption, especially in this study during busy work hours. So again, some limitations that I saw and that could be potentially seen if replicated to a degree is inconsistent work schedules, technological issues, and or user error issues with the technologies used. Some refinements I might use or suggest using for future. If I were to work on maintenance of this skill, I would consider introducing and or pairing a reinforcer to aid in the increase in the maintaining of the skill of drinking, having a higher level of water consumption. Um, so, for example, the participant in this study was an avid Dr. Pepper drinker. If I were to continue the study or work on maintaining the skill once it was shown that they were able to, you know, uh, maintain a specific ounce of consumption, so to say, if I wanted that to maintain across um, a longer period of time, I might try to use a reinforcer to really get them even more motivated and potentially even fade out that stimulus prompt of the wristwatch. So again, I do appreciate you taking the time listening to me and viewing my presentation. I hope you guys found it interesting, and thank you again.